or if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. In case you didn't know, I am a trans man who is early into his transition, and I'm filming these videos as a way to track the changes in my secondary sex characteristics over time, and I'm glad you decided to join us. Since I am still patiently waiting for my testosterone to arrive, I wanted to use this week's video to tackle something really important. The language that we use when we are talking about the transgender community. It can feel like a whole new world of terms sometimes. So let's break down some of the key vocabulary together. First up, let's talk about identity. Your assigned sex at birth is the sex that you were labeled when you were born, usually based on visible physical characteristics. You know, it's a boy, it's a girl, and so on. You might hear the terms AFAB, AFAB, which stands for assigned female at birth, or AMAB, AMAB, assigned male at birth. It's also important to acknowledge that some individuals are intersex, which means that they were born with variations in their sex characteristics, their chromosomes, hormones, or anatomy that don't quite fit the typical binary definitions of male or female. I will probably do a whole nother video on the biological sexes in the future, but that's a topic for future Robbo to tackle. So, what exactly does it mean to be transgender? Simply put, a transgender person is someone whose gender identity, that is, their internal sense of being male, female, both, neither, or somewhere else on the gender spectrum, is different from the sex that they were assigned at birth. For example, someone assigned male at birth who feels internally that they are a female would be a transgender woman. They may choose to live their affirmed gender and express feminine traits. There are also people who acknowledge that they are transgender, but who choose to live their life as the gender they were assigned at birth, for example. There are no rules when it comes to being a transgender person, and it's very much up to your own comfort levels when it comes to how you show and express your transgenderness. It is crucial to understand that gender identity is different from your assigned sex. Okay? It's a deep internal feeling of who you are, regardless of what sex characteristics your body develops during puberty. It's also very separate from your sexual orientation, which refers to the type of person with whom you are romantically or sexually involved, or attracted to, I should say. Just like anybody else, transgendered people have diverse sexual orientations. You can be AFAB and identify as male, a transgendered man, and be attracted to men, and therefore identify as gay. It can seem complicated, but the key is that your gender identity is about who you are, and your sexual orientation is about who you love. The most important thing to remember is that your gender identity is specific to you. No one else can tell you who you are or how you feel. Just because someone was assigned female at birth doesn't mean they have to live out their whole life presenting as female. You have options outside of what society has raised you to believe you have. Many transgendered people choose to transition, which is the process of aligning their life more closely with their gender identity. This can involve several aspects. Social transition, such as changing your name, pronouns, and how you present to the world. Legal transition, which involves changing your gender marker on government IDs and official documentation. And medical transition, which can include hormone therapy and surgeries that allow your body to express the secondary sex characteristics of your chosen gender. It's important to understand that while you might medically transition, your assigned sex at birth doesn't change. What does change is your social gender or your gender expression, how others perceive your gender in society, and how you present yourself publicly. So, someone assigned female at birth who identifies as male and takes testosterone will end up being perceived as male by others in society, due to their secondary sex characteristics, even though their chromosomes remain the same. In other words, your biological sex doesn't change. The gender that you present to others does. You don't magically become another gender. The gender that you present to others changes. You choose to live as the gender that you are on the inside. The idea is that transitioning allows your outsides to more closely match your insides. Now, what about people whose gender identity does align with the sex they were assigned at birth? What are they called? They're called cisgender, or cis for short. A person who was assigned female at birth, who also identifies as female, is a cisgender woman. Someone who was assigned male at birth, who identifies as male, is a cisgender male. As it was stated earlier, the gender identity is different from sexual orientation or preferences. So a cisgendered female can be attracted to other females, and cisgendered men can be attracted to other men. Their gender identity doesn't play into their sexual preferences. The gender spectrum is much broader than just male and female. There are also non binary people. Non binary is an umbrella term for people whose gender identity isn't exclusively male or female. This can include many different identities. Some people are gender fluid, which means they experience their gender identity as shifting over time from male to female and back to male again. And someone who is agender doesn't identify with any gender at all. Why do transgender people feel the need to present themselves differently than the sex they were assigned at birth? Often, but not always, it's due to something called gender dysphoria. This is a feeling of discomfort or distress that arises from a mismatch between one's gender identity and their assigned sex at birth. Um, or it's assigned gender roles. Society expects us to behave a certain way if we are a certain gender. For me, gender dysphoria expressed itself as a feeling that I was lying about everything, even when I was telling the truth. For others, it can be like a tingling or a numbness, or even just a complete disconnect with their bodies. It can be looking in the mirror and not recognizing the person staring back at you. Sometimes it's a collection of feelings that all add up to a feeling of not fitting in your own body. It can be anything really, as long as the person experiencing it perceives it to be a negative sensation. It's a deeply personal and often difficult experience, and it's hard to verbalize exactly what it feels like. On the flip side, there's also gender euphoria. This is an incredible feeling of joy and affirmation that we experience when our gender identity is recognized and validated. For me, I experience gender euphoria whenever someone mistook me for a boy and treated me like one, or like when I would try on a particularly masculine outfit, and so on. Gender euphoria can strike at the oddest times, too. The last time I experienced it prior to my transition was when I used the men's room at a local pizza parlor. So it can happen anytime someone's felt gender is recognized by others. These moments of euphoria can be so powerful and affirming. When someone seeks to transition, they often seek something called gender affirming care, or GAC. This encompasses any support, medical, social, or psychological, that affirms someone's gender identity. This can include hormones, surgery, therapy, and so much more. Anything that makes you feel more fully you can be seen as gender affirming care. A common form of GAC is hormone replacement therapy, also known as HRT. Transgender individuals may seek HRT to align their body's secondary sex characteristics with their gender identity. As someone assigned female at birth, I'll be taking testosterone, a traditionally male hormone, which will cause my body to display masculine secondary sex characteristics like a beard and a deeper voice. Someone who was assigned male at birth might take estrogen, a traditionally female hormone, to express feminine secondary sex characteristics, which could cause their breasts to grow or for their skin to soften. You might also hear the term passing, which refers to being perceived as cisgender, and going stealth, which is when a transgender person chooses not to disclose their transgendered history to others. Passing can unfortunately be a safety issue for many trans people, especially where public bathrooms are concerned, but I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. Coming out is the process of disclosing your gender identity to others. It's a very personal journey, and it can happen in stages all throughout your life. The term refers to the act of coming out of the closet or coming out of hiding. While homosexuals typically use the same term to describe disclosing their sexual orientation, it's important to remember that gender identity and sexual orientation are two different things. Just because we describe disclosing our truths the same way doesn't mean that you should conflate the two. A person who comes out as transgender isn't necessarily also coming out as gay, although they could if they felt so led. The correct way to refer to someone who was assigned female at birth but who identifies as male is as a transgender man, sometimes also called trans male or trans masc. Someone who was assigned male at birth who identifies as female is a transgender woman or trans femme. The older terms F to M, female to male, and M to F, male to female, are less commonly used now. It is incredibly important to use the correct pronouns and terms for transgender people. Using the wrong gender when referring to someone is called misgendering. Calling a transgendered person by their birth name after they've changed it is called dead naming. These actions, misgendering and dead naming someone, can be deeply hurtful and disrespectful to the trans person in question because it indicates a lack of respect for that person's decisions and desires. Basically, if you purposefully choose to use a trans person's old name or pronouns when referring to them, you're being a jerk. Stop it. Treat them with respect and respect their choice to be known by a new name. When a woman gets married and changes her last name, it's no big struggle to remember that she has a new last name and is Mrs. Whatever now. Treat it the same way when a trans person changes their name and or pronouns. It's not that hard. Thankfully, many trans people find support and affirmation within their chosen family or found family, a network of friends and allies who understand and accept them no matter what. These are the ride or die folks who will stick by the trans person no matter what and who love and accept them for who they really are instead of who they were assigned to be at birth. We're going to go ahead and switch gears for a second and briefly touch on some specific medical transition terms. Top surgery refers to any type of surgery designed to change the trans person's chest to more fully reflect their chosen gender. That means removing breast tissue and chest masculinization for trans men or breast augmentation for trans women. Bottom surgery is a general term for any gender-affirming genital surgeries. Trans women can have vaginoplasties to create feminine genitals out of existing bodily tissue. Trans men can have different types of bottom surgeries that create penises of various levels of functionality. Facial feminization surgery and facial masculinization surgery alter facial features to more closely resemble the trans person's chosen gender. And voice training isn't technically surgery, but it is considered medical regardless. Voice training involves speech pathologists employing vocal exercises that help align one's voice with their gender identity. And puberty blockers can temporarily halt gendered changes during adolescence, which prevents permanent changes from occurring, like voice deepening in men or breast development in women. If you're lucky enough to discover that you're trans before puberty, puberty blockers can prevent your assigned sex's sex characteristics from developing, which will enable you to have a smoother transition to your chosen gender once you come of age. Finally, I want to circle back around to an earlier point and touch on something that brings up a lot of complex feelings for me and many other trans people: public bathrooms. As a trans man who still presents quite femininely, navigating which restroom to use can be anxiety inducing. I'm never quite sure which restroom to use in public. Unfortunately, for most trans people, using the wrong bathroom is an invitation to physical harm from others, and that's something that just doesn't sit well with me. As one of my trans friends so powerfully put it, sometimes it's just a matter of making the choice that won't get you killed. For now, I use the ladies' room because I haven't developed the secondary sex characteristics that would allow me to pass as male yet. In a few years, maybe, I'll be able to use the men's room without arousing suspicion from others, and I'm honestly really looking forward to it. I wish we were just allowed to go pee without somebody having commentary on which restroom we're using to go do it in. It really makes you wonder why our society has such an obsession with policing who uses which bathroom. The folks who do that sort of thing say that it's to avoid the chance of some sexual deviant having access to women and taking advantage of them. But as we know, gender identity is separate from sexual orientation. So a trans person is no more likely to be a sexual deviant than anyone else. And anyway, in that case, wouldn't standalone gender neutral stall options just make things simpler and easier for everybody? Just have a separate stall for each person with a shared, open planned hand washing area so there's accountability and witnesses. And then you can see who's washing their hands or not. But I guess that's a topic for another video. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've learned a whole lot of new terms. I hope this overview of some of the more common transgender terminology has been helpful. Understanding the language is a crucial step in being a good ally and showing respect. If you have any other terms you'd like me to define in future videos, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, I'm an open book. Ask away in the comments below. And if you have a mean comment to post, that's okay too. I appreciate the engagement. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end, even though we disagree on certain fundamental points. It's not your fault that you're ignorant about how others experience the world. That's something you can choose to change by exposing yourself to opposing viewpoints and different people's experiences with life. I sincerely hope that you choose to do so. As the great poet says, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I forgive you for your mean comment, and I sincerely hope that you can come to a place of self-acceptance and rational thinking in the future. For the rest of you, please know that you're not alone. I'm right there with you, trudging the road to happy destiny alongside you. We're all in this together, after all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.